While the gods ruled the skies, Vulcan was cast below, his face too ugly, his hands too rough, his soul forgotten. But fire never forgets, and humiliation, over time, hardens into steel. Hammer hits. Every strike echoed an old insult. Every spark carried a curse. Olympus laughed, but in Vulcan's forge, silence screamed. The gods did not see, the goddesses did not hear, but he watched. Pause. Luna enters, and not even the moon could hide his secret. Even the nights feel hot now, because Vulcan has awakened the fire, and this was only the beginning. She saw everything, the future, the fall, the ruin, but Luna chose silence because sometimes truth is too much. She made a vow not to speak, not to intervene, but a single tear touched the sea and the deep began to tremble. Wake up, Triton, the night is no longer silent. The scale of justice could no longer stay still. Whispers turned to doubt, doubt into anger, anger into silence. Nemesis said nothing, then she let go. Stone cracked, the scale shattered, and for the first time Olympus was defenseless. The goddess of justice remained, but she no longer brought balance. She only watched. The gods watched the sky, but the sea had already awakened. Moonlight fell, and deep beneath a name echoed, Triton. He said nothing, but the water spoke for him. A conch horn roared, mountains, palaces, even gods trembled. Silence is over, because Triton has spoken, and the gods heard him. The underworld was quiet until footsteps echoed. The spirits were restless. They said nothing, but all pointed up. Lethe was murky. The river whispered the past, and Pluto was no longer watching. He was walking. Death was on the move. Queens always hear, but they speak only once. Juno looked at Luna, just looked, and everything was understood. In the throne of gods, the first order was given, the gates closed, whispers died. War had not begun, but it could no longer be stopped. The gods were speaking, but Bellona was silent. She wore her armor without a word, because some wars require no speeches. The first blood was spilled, and with it, peace was buried. Bellona has arrived. Nothing will be the same again. They forgot her, left her temple to rot. But those who forget never imagined the curse would return. Medusa broke her chains, and her eyes no longer just see. They burn, they judge, they remember. Luck is not justice's sister. The gods made plans, but Fortuna only threw her dice. The winners weren't the strongest, nor the wisest, just the chosen. But no one chose her. Fortuna chooses herself. When Mars arrives, peace looks for a place to hide. He doesn't speak, his language is forged in steel. You hear a clash, and then silence, because no one is left. Mars doesn't fight. Mars is war. Juno was the queen of empires. Luna, goddess of the night. One ruled, the other watched. And one night, rule and vision collided. They didn't speak, yet they said everything. Moonlight crept in, the throne shook, and the gods, for once, stayed silent. What was forged in flame wasn't just metal, it was destiny. Vulcan remained silent, but every strike was a god's scream. Armors cracked, skies darkened, because the final blow landed, and in that moment the gods fell silent. While the world above burned, the underworld stayed silent. As the gods clashed, the dead simply watched. Pluto did not speak, because every word was a judgment. Olympus was in chaos. Mars raged. Juno shouted. Luna remained silent. But the silence below was heavier than all of them. Pluto was no longer watching. He was listening. The dead whispered. They had known the gods, their pride, their lies, their forgotten justice. There was no defense in this court, because everything had already happened. This wasn't revenge, it was balance, and Pluto was the scale. The gods may still be at war, but justice now lives underground. In the heart of chaos, there was no shouting, because true justice doesn't scream, it walks in silence. Dike doesn't speak often, but when she appears, everything stops. Born among gods, yet never taking sides, she has no throne, no army, and yet all fear her. The echo from Pluto's court reached her, and she began to walk. Skies were torn, seas were boiling, but Dike moved forward, untouched, holding the golden scale, and nothing was balanced anymore. Mars was spilling blood, Juno was screaming, Vulcan was forging destruction, even Fortuna had turned away. Then she stopped. Her eyes were open, because justice does not hide. For the first time she spoke. This order was broken, and it will be rewritten. Justice is not an end, it's the beginning. When the war ends, the gods go silent. The sky was scorched, the seas had withdrawn, the underworld had spoken, but from the ashes something rose. The weapon forged by Vulcan was no longer a threat, it became a seal. Luna's silence didn't hide darkness anymore, it veiled a new order. Dike's justice cut through divine pride, even Juno's rage began to fade, and Mars, for the first time, dropped his sword. Echoes of Olympus was the story of an age, and like all ages, it left a resonance when it ended. Now begins the age of mortals. But remember, myths never die, they just become whispers.